Dr. Marshall Blue, thank you
Hello,
so much
brother
for
DJ.
joining me.
Yes, yes.
I really appreciate you for taking time out of your day to chat with me.
Of course, of course.
It is a pleasure. This is actually the first time that I've done a live interview.
Okay, I get that pleasure, right?
You get the pleasure.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
So, to my audience, this is a live interview, something I have not done here on Sound Leadership with DJ, but I am here in Oakland, California at the DNPs of Color 5th Annual Conference. And this brother has been a mentor, at times father figure, just been there to listen. And when I have a question, I'm able to pick his brain. So this is Dr. Marshall Blue. I usually have my little notes on the side. This is kind of more of an impromptu. So as always, I don't know where the conversation is going to take us, but I'm going to let Dr. Marshall Blue introduce himself.
Well, thank you, DJ. It is truly an amazing opportunity to sit with you today. I know we've been talking about this for a while and wanting to spend some time. And just because you're a busy man, you know, it's just been kind of hard to kind of fit. But I'm glad we're taking the time now to sit together.
Now,
I am currently the Director of Pediatric Services at St. Joseph's Medical Center in Stockton, California. Stockton! Okay. And it is a Dignity Health Common Spirit facility. Okay. It's a faith-based organization. Okay. And I really align my values, what I see as core values, with that organization, and really excited to kind of lead their pediatric program.
Yes.
And really give back to the community.
I love it. And how long have you been the director there?
I've been a director there for 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Always been in pediatrics?
For 43 years, pediatrics has been my thing.
Wait, you've been a nurse for 43 years?
43 years, yeah. I started when I was 2.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I love it.
I will be 64 years old next month.
How do you say it? Vertical and breathing?
Vertical and ventilating.
Vertical and ventilating.
Yes.
That is how he answers the phone, and that's the energy that I love from him. You know, I met you earlier last year before the first DNP conference.
Right.
And we just kind of connected and just been vibing. We check in on each other, and I appreciate that. And that's what I love about this conference, really. It's a brother and sisterhood. Everybody kind of bonds and joins together. But before we dive more into this conference, right, you mentioned you've been a nurse for over 40 years. What has that been like? Because I'm sure nursing has changed over the time. So let's go back to Baby Blue.
The Baby Blue, huh? It almost seems so long ago. Sometimes it's hard to remember. There are some things that really stand out.
Yes.
Is the fact that when I started nursing school, there were no individuals in terms of instructors that looked like me.
Wow.
And really none that really shared the same experiences I did through the matriculation of just growing up.
Yes.
Understanding where I came from, what I had to do to get where I was.
Yes.
I think I was an intelligent individual back then. But, you know, I wasn't given the benefit of the doubt to really come in and them ask me, what do you need? You know, there was, just found out today, and really just in terms of meeting those that were speaking, there was a phrase that was brought this morning, and it made me realize that everyone can have a mentor.
Yeah.
But when you have a sponsor,
yes,
the mentor is there with you and he supports you where you are and kind of gives you guidance. However, a sponsor grabs your hand and takes you with them.
Wow.
On that journey.
Wow.
You have someone side by side and they're opening doors for you. And that's who I was looking for, and that's what I did not have.
So, were the doors closed when you first entered nursing? What was that like?
I think they were practically closed. I think there was some small opening, only because, you know, I felt like they let me into the school, and there wasn't a lot of pushback. Yeah. They, when I applied, I had applied to 5 different nursing schools. Okay. Right out of high school.
Is this always what you wanted to do?
So yes, we'll get into the history in a
Okay.
minute. But 5 nursing schools. Loma Linda was the school that I actually picked, and that's where I actually went to school. And in terms of applying and being accepted, really there wasn't a lot of loopholes to go through. It was the basic process everyone went through.
Okay.
However, once I got there, I felt like I was alone.
Wow.
I felt that there was really no one there within the school to really assist me with, well, how are you feeling? What do you need from us for you to succeed? Now, that's something very different now.
Yeah.
Right? But that was then. Now, getting back to your question of, was I always, or did I always want to become a nurse?
Because I didn't. Let me be clear.
Right.
I didn't. I got into nursing on a $20 bet.
Wow.
It was a $20 bet when I was 18.
Okay.
Somebody, we made a bet and it said, I'm going to go to CNA school. And I said, well, I bet I could be a better CNA than you.
Right, right.
That person never went to CNA school.
Yeah.
I did.
And you did?
I did. They went to flight attendant. They ended up going to be a flight attendant. Right. But I did. $20 got me here. So I don't know if that's what got
smart investment, right? A smart investment.
Thank you, Dr.
Yes,
Dr.
yes. So it started all back in high school.
Okay.
I had my school nurse in high school was very instrumental in providing me opportunities in terms of understanding that this little African-American boy, probably not from a very wealthy family in an affluent neighborhood, she knew that wasn't what the deal was.
Yeah.
And so probably limited in resources and influence, really sat with me and kind of embraced me. And the way that happened was I took Algebra 1 my freshman year, 9th grade, and I actually could not connect with the instructor. And so I really hated the class. And so I would, it doesn't sound good now, but I got a headache.
Listen, I got a school story too now.
Right. I got a headache. And she would send me to the nurse's office. And that's how I met my school nurse.
Wow.
And I'll say her name. She's not alive today, but Mrs. Broadbag.
Yes.
She will always go down in my history of being really one of the individuals that spoke to me.
Yeah.
She was Caucasian, white,
yes.
but it didn't matter to her. She connected with all the students and had an affinity, I think, with me because I spent a whole lot of time with her. Every day in algebra class, I'd have a headache and be excused to her office. She would sit with me and talk to me. She would ask me questions. Well, what do you think you want to do when you graduate high school? Or what college do you think you want to go to? She was engaging me into think about not just what I was doing right here and right now, but what I wanted to do in the future.
Wow. And
I really didn't know. But she says, whatever you choose, you're going to need algebra. So, she would always tie it back into, you can't just get the class and not learn it. So she would ask me, well, what are you having trouble with? What is this about? Talk to me. Yeah. And she would allow me to express myself and really understand why I wasn't connecting. And would sit with me. She says, well, what are you learning right now? Talk to me. So I would give her a problem or two, and she would sit with me and go over the problems.
Wow.
Well, let me tell you, by the end of the year, I didn't get an A, but a B+ wasn't bad.
Wow.
For, a young man who really had difficulties as a younger child reading, a speech impediment, stuttered.
Wow.
Really at a point where half the time you couldn't understand what I was saying. Wow. But she listened and gave me a chance to express or tell her where I was and what I needed. And she was there for me. And I said, and she's a nurse? I want to be like her when I grow up. And so I would ask her about nursing. She was a nurse during World War II. Got a chance to travel across the world. And I said, well, if you can do that as a nurse, I haven't been around the world, barely been out of Los Angeles. But, you know, and the school I was actually going to was a boarding academy that was about an hour north of Los Angeles.
Okay.
And it was an experience I wanted to have to get out of the inner city and have that influence and exposure to things that I did not see at home. Had a loving family, but that support of my family allowed me to now take that venture to go to a new environment and something that I really needed.
Wow.
And so meeting Mrs. Broadbeck and having that opportunity to engage with her and her influencing me in picking the career that I have now.
Yeah.
And I have to say, nursing has been good to me.
40-something years.
Yes, it has been good to me.
That is a lot. That is no easy feat. And so from there, you went into an associate degree program or bachelor degree program? What did that look like?
I was initially accepted into the bachelor's program.
Okay.
But as I had spoken earlier, there wasn't really enough representation. There wasn't enough, or I would say that support that I needed as an individual was not there. So I opted for the 2-year program that they had. And I said, I need to get out of here because I'm not feeling like this is where I need to be right now, even though it was faith-based organization. And I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. It's a Seventh-day Adventist university. So there was an affinity there just because of our faith.
Definitely.
But sometimes you have to step out of what your faith is and really look at the individuals in the school and really meet them where they are. And I felt I didn't have that. So I said, I got to go.
Okay.
And, you know, being a brother from I would say disadvantaged community, I said, I need to go out and make some money.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the way to do it. So, and that's how I started, my associate's degree.
So you worked as an associate degree nurse. Now, you know, we have something unique in common, right? Is we're males in nursing. What was that like back then? Because I know right now I can walk into the hospital and be the only male or the only African-American male, but definitely the only male, right? And we can just bucket it into a male. It doesn't have to be a race thing, right? So what was that like then? Because if we only represent, I believe, 7-8% currently, I can't imagine 30, 40 years ago. What was that like for you?
It was definitely a smaller percentage. And this was early 80s. Not just being the only male, but again, as you said, the only black male on my unit.
Yes.
And I have to say, there were enough younger nurses. End of baby boomer, that's where I kind of fall in. There was enough of them who I could relate to, and who related to me. I have to say it wasn't enough, but there were a few. And I think that core group, we could draw from each other to get each other through. Like I said, I didn't have the experience of working with a lot of male nurses. Right? However, what I did receive was enough to keep me
going.
Keep me going, keep me at a place where I felt that I was going to do good for where I was working, right? And the community where I was based. So continually honing my skills as a neonatal nurse and knowing that I may not represent a larger group within my nursing unit. However, I'm still impactful to my community. So when we had those brown and black families coming in that had premature infants, they knew, oh, there's Nurse Blue. You know, we can kind of talk to him and ask him a question. And they could tell me some of their concerns. And I could sit there with them and listen at least. Even if I didn't have the experience to give them a lot of direction, I could at least hear them. And sometimes that's all that really takes,
you know,
is a listening ear.
Just listening to people can do so much. So much. Just sitting down and actively listening. You know, but to not just the satisfy requirement, listening and listening with intent and answering and interjecting when it's appropriate. Sometimes people want you to do something, and sometimes they want you just to listen.
Just to listen. Right.
Just to be there.
Right.
Just to be their shoulder. So it's interesting that you say that, and I'm sure you've done that countless times dealing with the patient population that you serve, right? You said the neonatal, the pediatrics, now you're the director. And to me, it's inspirational to see you sit at the level that you do. Now, as you were climbing up the ranks, what did leadership look like for you? Was it many of people of color in leadership as you was climbing up the ranks? Has that changed over time?
I would say yes, it has changed over time. But then the flip side of that, there is still not a large representation of brown and black leaders.
Yes, I agree with that.
I do want to just go back a little bit. I really was at the bedside as a neonatal nurse, pediatric intensive care nurse for 30 years.
Wow.
With my associate's degree. And just gaining that experience in terms of being empathetic with my patients and their families, and understanding the ins and outs of nursing got me to a point where I felt I had developed a voice. And as an associate's degree nurse, you are truly not invited to the table.
He's about to drop the jewels.
Yeah, you're on the table. You know what I'm saying? You are not at the table. And that's how I felt.
Was there a pivotal moment that you realized, you know what, I think I'm in the oven. I think they're cooking me. I think I think I'm in the kitchen. But not in the right part of the kitchen.
Yes. There was a point in time where I felt that I wasn't being heard. Situation developed within my neonatal unit, and I was one of those nurses. I couldn't just sit still and just be a nurse providing care. I had to be on several committees, because you want to be heard and seen. Yeah, you want to be. I was on several committees. I was a transport nurse, in charge nurse, one of the resource nurses, and just anything and everything I could learn and do, I was doing. And I really felt that I needed to be heard, even more than what I was invited to really give my expertise. So I said, the only way they're going to listen to a brother is if I go back and put some alphabet soup behind my name. Because as an associate's degree nurse, yes, I knew my craft. Yeah. I was skillful as a clinician. But as a true leader, they did not look at me as a true leader.
Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. Same old DJ.
Right.
I just put some letters behind the name. Stood in the class a few more weeks. So is that what made you go to the bachelor's or master's?
Yes.
What was that journey like?
Yes. I decided 13 years ago to really go into nursing head in. And I said, I've been in nursing this long. I said, I truly need now to envelop myself in this career as a professional.
Let me ask you something before. I know you got a thought. Yeah. You just said you decided to go back 13 years ago. Now, if I can do the math, I don't want to mess up the numbers, but we got a lot of people who are saying I can't go back at a certain age. So what I hear you saying, you can say the age now, you can play it back. You told you your age minus 13 years. But that's usually people don't want to go back at that age. You went back. And I just want to call that out for the people who might have missed that. Because people get to 30, 40, 50 and say, I can't go back, I'm too old to go back.
That is true. I was 51 when I started my BSN program. Wow. That's right. Wow. And everyone in my class at that point, half my age, and more. 20 years old. I think the oldest one in the class in terms of the generation behind me, 25. and so I'm sitting in class. I'm a grandfather already. And, I'm looking around. I said, this is going to be challenging. I was already putting myself in a category where, okay, what are you doing? Yeah. Right? And feeling like I haven't been in school in 30 years. Yeah. I know my craft so well. What am I going to learn? You know, I had these doubts. Am I going to be able to keep up? I was saying to myself, my synapses don't fire as fast as these young folk. What am I, you know, this is like, I can't. But that main desire of wanting to be heard and seen was just there. And I said, I got to do this. I've got to do this. I said, because somewhere down the line, there are going to be more individuals of color like me that I can stand in front and say, you can do this. Mm-hmm. And it's never too late.
Agree.
Never too late. And so building those relationships now with those younger folk, it was funny because a lot of times we would have group projects.
Yes.
And all of them, Blue, I want to be on your team. I want to be on your team. Just because I brought, and this is what they were telling me, even though in the back of my mind I said, I know I'm going to bring something.
Yeah.
But they would actually say, you've got experience in this.
Yeah.
You know you can help us out with this problem.
Yeah.
You know. And if we were doing a paper together, Blue, we want you to close. Because what I do is I read everybody's, little paragraph or two, and I'm saying, okay, I know what they're trying to say. I know what our subject matter is, but I can tighten it up.
Yeah.
And so I would go through and tighten up everybody's words, use their references, and then I would close. And every time we turned in a paper, we got an A on it. And everybody was so impressed. Blue, this was fabulous, and I saw what you did to my piece. And I have to say I was very proud of that, and that my younger classmates would rely on me.
Yes.
They would always do their work, but they would rely on me to ensure that we got over the hump.
Wow.
And that gave me that inner peace to say, well, I guess my choice to go back is going to be meaningful. Not just to me, but my colleagues there in school. So I knew I was on the right track.
But did you know you were going to continue on? So you got this BS in.
Right. At first, no. But once I got through my first 6 months, this was an 18-month program.
Okay.
I started what we used to call, I started smelling myself. You know, where it's like, okay, I think I'm good here, right? So it was more of, I don't have another 30 years to go back to school. So if I get my BSN and work all this time, I said, I'll be 81, trying to go back to school. And I said, no, I got to do it now. So on my last year of the BSN program, I started researching just a master's program. I said, maybe I want to do education. Maybe I need something like that to really elevate my stance, my position within my profession for folk to really hear me.
Yeah.
And then again, I want to be seen. Brother wants to be seen. And so I started researching master's programs and ran across a program that offered a BSN to DNP. Now, I had heard about these programs, but it was still fairly new. You know, DNPs came out, they started, and it really wasn't well known. Still, people were going back to school and getting their PhDs.
Yes.
And so I said, you know what? Maybe I could do this.
Yeah.
You know, and I went to an open house at the University of San Francisco. And when I walked on campus, one of the first things I saw, it was a beautiful campus up on the tallest hill in San Francisco.
Wow.
And their banners that they have flying in the wind around campus. It says, change the world from here.
Wow. And that connected with you?
It resonated with my core values. I get a little emotional about it.
Okay.
Because it just said, this is the place for you. This is the place for you.
You knew.
I knew.
You were meant to be.
I said, so I went home that night and applied.
Wow.
And I said, it was kind of early. I didn't have my BSN yet, but I applied.
But what's destined is destined.
It was, yes. So once I applied, I emailed the lead instructor of the program, Dr. Julie Maxworthy. And I just spilled my guts. And she connected with me. She had a very similar experience in terms of her educational route. Mm-hmm. She was an associate's degree nurse for a while, understood that she needed to begin her journey in terms of her attrition through school so that she could have that seat at the table and actually give back to those nurses coming through
yes.
after her. And she connected with me. She says, I'm glad you submitted your application. I'm going to tell you now, they probably really won't look at it because you're not close enough to finishing. Yeah. But I'm glad you're energetic and enthused.
Yes.
I said, but I have you in my column of contacts, and I will reach out to you. You reach out to me when you're closer to the end of your program. So I was probably 4 or 5 months from completion, and I reapplied. And then emailed her and said, I just sent back in my application. And she says, okay, when is your graduation date? And I gave that to her, and she says, okay, I will look, because she was on the committee for admissions as well. I will look for that application. And see, it's all about those individuals who are supporters.
Yes.
I talked about mentors,
but
she was a supporter.
Yes.
Found my name, discussed my history. I had come to an orientation, applied immediately, knowing that I would probably not be accepted. But she says, basically in my words, this brother has something he needs to say, and we need to give him that opportunity.
Yes.
I was accepted on the condition of completing my BSN program by the end of August 2015.
Wow.
Well, I did, because school started beginning of September. I had 1 week.
Wow. and you rolled back into it.
Right, and I was back into it. And I knew then that this is my path. This is my journey. And I already have people now that are going to sit with me throughout my tenure of education to ensure that I make it to the end.
Sponsors.
And, yes, sponsors.
Wow.
And I got through.
You did.
I got through. One of the highest GPAs. I did well in high school.
Yes.
But I never thought that I could really make it through a graduate program. Just because you have that feeling of I'm not good enough, I don't really have the history, and I'm with those that don't really look like me. It is not an HBCU, you know. However, I got that support. And really, that's what you need. It's always not where you are, but who is there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I got through. She was the chair of my DNP program.
Wow.
And every Saturday morning, we would have our little session. Usually it's, 60 minutes. And the first 10 to 15 minutes of those sessions, she would ask me, tell me about your week. And it was my time to just spill my guts. Tell her everything that was on my mind, good and bad. Half the time I was crying. Spilling my guts, talking about, oh, this happened and that happened. And she would sit there and listen to me.
Wow.
And it was my time. And at the end, she would say, that must have been very difficult. And I feel you. But she said, you my sunshine.
So
you got this.
I take it back to what I said in the beginning, right? Active listening.
Yes.
She was there listening to you. She wasn't just there because it was her job. She was actively listening, and she heard you, and it made you feel good, and she sponsored you.
Yes.
Not a mentor. Notice the difference, right? We're gonna put that in the notes. I think it's important to have sponsors, and I think it's important to have mentors. So when we talk about this conference, you're able to come to this conference here at DNPs of Color, here in Oakland, your state.
My state, that's
Your
right.
state.
I was instrumental in getting the conference here, man. You know, we've been on the East Coast for several years, and I said, okay, now, we need to come to California.
Blue said he pulled some strings, made it happen.
That's right. That's right.
But you know, you're able to come to these events, and you're able to find your sponsor. You're able to find your mentor or a mentee, whatever it is that you need. Dr. McCamey has created this space for us. So shout out to Dr. McCamey for giving us this opportunity. And Blue, shout out to you for, you know, being out there, being so likable.
Well, thank
being
you.
so enjoyable to be around, just being honest, right? And really, you know, being an inspiration for the next generation, right? So when I was connecting with you, I was in my program, right? And I'm looking at you, I'm looking at Dr. Lean, I'm looking at everyone else, you know, Dr. Williams, all these people who look like me, who have doctorate degrees. I didn't set out to get a doctorate degree. I did not. I just mentioned I did not even think I was going to go into nursing. But now I'm officially a part of the crew where I can help inspire the next generation that's coming up like us. So, you know, it's nice that we're at this spot because it's really symbolic of us as trees. Now we're, at one point, right, I was a branch, right? And so now I'm a tree. I'm able to spread my wings to the next generation. So when I saw this backdrop that we have, it was like, this is an amazing spot to do this interview. Dr. Blue, you've been coming 5 years in a row. Why do you keep coming to this conference?
It feels like I'm coming home. I have, again, people who have had similar experiences, similar backgrounds. They may not be exactly the experiences that I've had, but they understand. And I'm able to kind of, you know, I'm losing hair, but let my hair down. You know what I'm saying? What I do have left, I can let it down. And I can be me without feeling like, well, I've got to hold things in and be appropriate for my environment. Well, I've learned that appropriateness does not have to be my confining moment. I can still be very appropriate and still be me. Bring my authentic self to every environment. And my thing is, at this point, if you don't like it, that is too bad. The thing is, you're missing out on someone who can bring something to the situation or your profession or even your life. And if you don't feel I fit in, okay. But there are opportunities where I can fit in. And I'm going to continue to put myself out there to be an influencer. You know, to really be able to find individuals who need support and for them to find me. That's why I do what I do.
You do it so well.
Well, you know, I think that comes just with age. As they say, the older you get, you become more of the sage, you know. And, you know, it's like I used to sit at the feet of those in front of me, or I should say behind me, pulling me up, and I want to know and hear everything they have to say. And you know what makes me feel like this journey was worth it? Because I have those younger than me, and not to think that I am, no, I don't want anyone to think that I am all that, but now folk come and want to sit at my feet. And I'm like, are you sure you want to sit here? But yes.
It goes back to these trees.
It goes back to the trees.
Trees will stand generations. They will stand generations and impact generations.
That's right.
And that's what we're doing. We're impacting generations. People will watch this video years from now, whenever, and they will say, look, if I see them, then I can do it. Because that's always been my motto. My motto is, lots of people have done it before me, and lots of people will do it after me. So why not me? That's been my motto. So as we bring this to the close, Blue, I'm going to let you close this out. I want you to look right in the camera. And there's some people right now who is on the fence about coming to us in 2026. They may feel like, well, I don't have a DNP. Maybe I'm a PhD. Maybe I'm a MSCN, ASCN, BSN. Maybe I'm not even a nurse. Will I be included? Will I be welcome? Will I be invited? What would you say to those people, Blue?
Well, we are truly inclusive. And this space is a place for everyone. We want to hear from you, your experiences, and this environment, again, supports those that come and have similar experiences. And we are here for you. We are here for you. I invite everyone to go to our website, DNPsofcolor.org, and look at our mission. Look at what we see as our vision of what we want to do. And I'm sure our values will align with yours as nurses. And what we want to do, not just within our local community, our national community, but globally, the impact that we want to make. Again, I don't really think globally. That's really not me. I'm learning, but I know I can be impactful in my local community. And understanding that, your little pebble that you throw into that little pond where you are makes ripples. And it expands. It expands. Goes back to why I chose the university I went to for my graduate degree. Change the world from here. From here.
I have no words. I appreciate you for taking time out of your day. You know, that's gonna leave me. We're gonna change the world from here, and that's what we're doing.
Thank you so much, brother.
Brother, I appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
This is the first ever live interview, and I'm honored to be here with you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here in Oakland, California, Detroit to Hawaii, Hawaii to here, and it all comes from putting ourselves out there, believing in ourselves, taking risk, and pushing the agenda, not accepting no.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you like this episode of Sound Leadership with DJ, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. You can find us on all socials. That's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn at Sound Leadership with DJ. You can follow me directly at Your Healthcare Consultant on TikTok. Please look up Dr. Marshall Blue on LinkedIn. You will see him. His page is amazing. He's probably going to be at another conference when you're looking at him with another sharp suit on. He dresses to the nines, baby. He dresses to the nines. We thought we had some dresses, some dresses down in the D with some gators. I saw this man today. He dresses well. But Dr. Marshall Blue, once again,
thank you.
Thank you so much.